Hi there, I'm Sumita Kareer, and if it's startups, tech, emerging businesses, and the new economy that interest you, well, this is the show that you should be watching to keep a track of developments in this space. If it's tech, if it's startups, it's all happening right here. In fact, as a show, we thrive on the feedback that you give us. We also would like to know what you want to watch. So do share your thoughts with us at etnow, suc.etnow.in right on top. In fact, let's move on then to the first segment. What do we have first? Well, AI and now Gen AI has been the buzzwords for quite a while. In fact, over 70% of India's retailers plan to adopt generative AI over the next 12 months, and that is to improve customer experience and perhaps lower their costs as well. This is according to a survey that was released by EY India recently. But will 2024 be the year when generative AI takes the giant leap ahead? Can generative AI give the profitability push to companies? To discuss that and more, we now are joined by Angshuman Bhattacharya, the National Leader for Consumer Product and Retail Sector, EY India, to discuss more. Thank you very much, Angshuman, for joining us here on ET Now. Now, the report states that over 70% of Indian retailers plan to adopt generative AI over the next 12 months, and a majority of them will be using it to improve customer experience, drive innovation, and lower costs. Now, all of that is very interesting considering that 2024, everybody is expecting generative AI to take that big leap. But beyond the recommendations, beyond what the chatbots do, how else will generative AI change the retail landscape, and which areas are exciting you the most?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting times for AI in retail. There are quite a few areas, if you look at the entire retail value chain, where Gen AI is being explored and in certain cases even used already. I think on the one side, if you see our report, it talks about a lot of usage and interest coming in from the whole customer experience part of it, personalized recommendations, chatbots, use of Gen AI in customer service, even visual search and overall virtual try-ons in certain categories like apparel, lifestyle, jewelry is definitely coming up as a very big area of interest. On the back end, however, if you just see it, the supply chain optimization in terms of the overall merchandising for retail, making sure that the customer finds what he or she is looking for in terms of fill rates and availability. There's also predictive analytics on pricing and discounts and customer behavior getting attached to it. And overall, all of this is coming in the form of voice commerce, and that's a really new, interesting space. And sorry, one more point which has come out as a very big area is in terms of even fraud detection, dubious transactions or unsafe transactions, and how AI is able to, in a retail environment, both in digital as well as in offline scenario, really detect some of the fraudulent transactions. These are some very interesting and upcoming use cases which are today being explored by companies in India as well as in global markets.
Now, I'm completely bowled over by voice commerce and fraud detection. I mean, if the industry really takes the powers of generative AI in a right fashion. But given these innovations, Mr. Bhattacharya, do you really see investments by brands in the sector soar? And if so, by how much from the current $5 billion?
Yeah, it's. I mean, the India number is still small. It's in exploratory stages, but globally, the report says that there's about almost $5 billion of investment that has already happened in the retail sector in AI and AI-related products, and this number is expected to grow to almost 30 or $32 billion over the next few years, and very, very fast. In India, also a similar kind of exponential growth is expected. There is similarly in the report, it's already expressed that about 70 or 80% of companies in the retail sector are saying they are in active discussions with either service providers or in-house teams to see how to harness the power of Gen AI in their operations. And a very large proportion said that we expect all of these investments to bear fruit in the next coming year or so. So it's a very, very high growth trajectory that we are embarking on.
All right, Mr. Bhattacharya. But now, since profitability has been key, especially in the past 1 or 2 years for startups, do you think generative AI could really lift the retail sector's profitability, considering that there could be a lot of eradication of redundancies?
Estimated across the value chain, what are the potential areas where businesses could either generate incremental growth or reduce costs? So this applies to the core function, and when we're talking about retail, it goes from all the way from buying and procurement all the way to customer service and delivery. And we see that there is a very easy case of almost 20% reduction in terms of costs across the value chain, in terms of just eradicating redundancies of reporting, bringing in technology and automation where perhaps decisions are much more manual, and also equipping and gradually increasing the value add in terms of the reports that many of the executives and corporates get through a more comprehensive, multifaceted way of reporting. Just to give you a little bit of a sense, right, that any retail company or consumer company may have data coming in from ERPs, from CRMs, from Salesforce automation. It could be materials planning or a vendor requirement planning, different softwares and applications. What Gen AI is today able to do is essentially unify all of these, bring them all to one place, and enable the Q&A, or rather than in a static manner, but you can actually ask questions. For example, you could say, what are my best selling products, or what are my least selling products, or what do I have in inventory that I need to liquidate, and you'll get an answer very quickly. And that's really the power of Gen AI, which earlier used to be more static reporting, will convert into a lot of dynamic reporting and decision making. So across the board, I think this will facilitate a lot of manual tasks. Not to say that this is going to reduce manpower, but definitely in terms of driving more efficiency in the operations, I think that's really the potential of Gen AI.
So driving more efficiencies, you say that 20% of reduction in a company's costs is something that you see, especially in the retail space. But Mr. Bhattacharya, let's also touch upon personalization. That's a trend that's really picked up in retail after e-commerce, boom. And do you really see the Gen AI further boosting customer experience and, of course, service as a whole due to AI?
I think that's really the core focus area as per our report also. The first focus area is not so much on cost reduction, but it's how do I enhance the overall customer experience? So I think the most important few things here are in the area of precise personalization. We all know that personalization as a trend has taken off a few years back, and it's a buzzword in retailing that every customer wants a level of personal preference and choice coming into the way they shop and in the way the brands offer the products. I think the ability of Gen AI to really take data from various avenues and bring it all together and offer much more precise personalization, whether it's styles, whether it's sizes, whether it's price points, whether it's your socio-economic profile, whether it's the location that you're shopping from, whether there are cultural sensitivities. The power of Gen AI is to be able to really bring all of this and do a much better and much more precise job of personalization. The other part is in terms of enhanced customer service and loyalty, like you would say, which is coming out of a much more comprehensive model of, I would say, using chatbots and informed customer service. And if you just experience some of the already prevailing cases out there, you'd see that the level of knowledge that is fed into a background of a Gen AI based chatbot is actually superior than what manually you could train humans to do. And to that extent, the ability of the chatbot to really address a customer's queries, of course, the personal touch is also an element which is getting baked into the Gen AI apps and the Gen AI chatbots, but it is likely to be a more comprehensive comprehensively equipped with data interaction with customers, which is also expected to improve customer service levels.
All right, Mr. Bhattacharya, but since there's been, there will be a lot of data that will be used, collected, there will in fact be location tracking for real-time promotions. Privacy is bound to be a concern. Are there compliances by brands in place? What do you think of that?
You've hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. I think if there is, one area where people are actually sort of wanting more guidance, and customers are looking for more guidance, it's in the area of really how do you handle data privacy, or even to that extent, confidentiality, or what's allowed and what's not. So a lot of our clients come and ask us, we're largely hearing most people talk about what to do with Gen AI, but very few people are talking about what not to do with it. So it's an evolving field. I think that there are definitely certain very key regulatory and compliance norms that need to evolve around Gen AI as well, where the report covers that there's work being done, but that's definitely an area that needs to evolve along with the overall power that Gen AI exhibits.
All right. So then one follow-up question to that issue of privacy is that how are organizations then really adapting, and what's the level of readiness at present? The report doesn't really paint a very good picture.
The report says very clearly that it's low to moderate. We are in the market speaking to many of our customers. I think the first layer of interest is there. The commitment to invest and use Gen AI is there. But the knowledge of how do you really go about aligning to a very disruptive business model that Gen AI could provide over a period of time, I think that readiness is low. And it definitely is something that will evolve over the next year or so as some of the market leading companies are ahead and are really discovering this process, in terms of the how to really structure your organization, how do you put the right mechanisms of control, monitoring, governance, compliance around Gen AI. I think these are still evolving, but to simply answer your question, where we are right now is a low to moderate readiness. It's just interest and discovery of the potential of Gen AI, but the readiness will build in the next year or so. I think there's going to be a lot more knowledge dissemination that will happen for people to get ready.
All right, Mr. Bhattacharya, before we end, let me ask this very basic question, has been spoken about multiple times, which is about the threat of AI taking over jobs. We've really seen a few startups doing that already due to redundancies. And you also spoke of 20% reduction in cost for companies due to the deployment of generative AI-led tools. What kind of an impact really do you see on jobs? Because we are already seeing some impact, especially in the startup space.
Well, I think computerization, automation, the whole industrial revolution, every time there's a technology, there is that concern. But what we've also seen is that it creates jobs in different spheres and in different. So there's an upskilling that would be obviously required. I mean, we've seen it when even ERPs were coming in, that people who were doing manual work were concerned about replacement of their jobs. So as is characterized by any sort of disruptive technology that comes in, there will be some sort of a reorientation in terms of the jobs and the skills, but towards the better and towards a more productive organization.
All right, then. So some sort of reorientation that will happen as a result of AI and, of course, AI tools being deployed by organizations. And it's perhaps here that organizations will really need to step up their efforts as far as reskilling is concerned. On that note, thanks very much, Mr. Bhattacharya, for joining us. I appreciate you taking out time for this.